check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Is that good? Check it. Good.
Morning. Okay. Okay. Yeah. 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 Yep. Good morning. We are asking that any of the youth and children that will be going to religious education to start up front here on the floor. We're asking all children and youth that will be going to religious education to come sit up front at the beginning. Come up front now. time. I've been watching. There was a trail of people, although that trail has gone away. So,
Good morning. My name is Linda Zetterberg, and I serve as a trustee here at the DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church. I am the controller who, along with the treasurer, takes care of the finances of the church. We want to welcome everyone to our open and inclusive community. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many spiritual paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another as we each explore these paths. First time and returning visitors, it is our custom to invite you to stand and give your name and where you are from, if you feel comfortable doing so. Are there any visitors this morning who would like to introduce themselves?
Hi,
Yes.
I'm Beth. I'm from Aurora, and I'm Tina's daughter.
Oh, welcome back.
Bill from Boston. I'm Jim Workman's brother.
Welcome, Bill. Anyone else? Welcome, Barbara. One more. Well,
I have a friend visiting today from Bloomingdale, Judy Keeley.
welcome, Judy. Okay, with all the commotion, it's hard to see if anybody's standing. Welcome to everyone visiting today. Please join us after the service for coffee hour. We would love to have a chance to get to know you better. I will be there along with many of our members. In addition, our minister, Reverend Mike Walker, and our Director of Religious Education, Steve Cooper, are present and will be happy to meet you. Have you noticed that coffee in Creeves Hall can be crowded and maybe a little intimidating? Grab your cup of coffee and come down to the lower annex to meet other visitors and a couple of folks from the Congregational Life Committee. We can answer questions you might have or just get to know each. Looking forward to seeing you there. Our service can be heard outside the glass doors at the back of the sanctuary should anyone feel the need to step out of the service. As we begin our service, please silence all your electronic devices. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Hi, I'm Karen Campbell, and I don't know how to use a microphone. Anyway, I am doing the youth ensemble today, and it's been my absolute pleasure to work with all these young, talented musicians. They are amazing. We have worked very hard on our music, and they put a lot of time into learning their parts, which I'm going to be honest, were not that easy this time. And I've been doing this for like 18 years, and each year I think, wow, these talented older seniors and stuff are graduating, and what will I do? But this year, a whole bunch of them did that last year, but I got all kinds of new members, and they're super talented. So it's like, wow, life just keeps going on, and I'm so excited to work with them, and I hope you enjoy our tune today.
In the bleak and cold winter, we gather ourselves in to light the fire, to light the fire, to warm our spirits, to kindle a flame of love and hope.
And speaking of the bleak and cold winter, you'll be singing about it in a moment. But again, I want to thank Karen. She writes an arrangement every year for whatever group of youth she has, and this was so great. And it so fits our theme of hope, justice, and transformation as the Grinch eventually transfers, as you know, to a kind human being. Please rise in body and/or spirit and join us in singing 2 verses of the hymn. The words will be projected on the wall. If you're using the hymnal, just be forewarned, the second verse may not exactly match what's in the hymnal. In the bleak midwinter.
Open the doors of the sanctuary for the people to come and rejoice. Enter into the fellowship of those who celebrate life with its warmth and its beauty, its pain and its healing. Come to the temple of delight for a season of simple pleasure. Join together, one and all, in the spirit of Christmastide to stir into hope the vision of trust and justice over all the world, that peace and goodwill may bless and keep us in every generation.
In this next piece, the word Noel is sung 81 times. We'd like to invite you to join in and sing 20 times. You'll be in verse 4, and the insert in your order of service shows the music and the word. Noel, Noel.
know all the heroes of the Hanukkah story, except one. Who buried that tiny jar of pure sanctified oil? And why? As the Greeks entered Jerusalem, bringing the worship of Zeus to the temple, they brought a sophisticated and seductive culture. It was a universal culture embraced by the entire Mediterranean world. Greek philosophy, arts, theater, sport, and religion soon filled Jerusalem and eclipsed Judaism. Greek culture was welcomed, celebrated, and promulgated by Jerusalem's leadership. Even the high priest Menelaus advocated that Jews give up their provincial old ways and take the new universal Greek culture to heart. But not everyone succumbed. There was one anonymous hero who saw things more clearly. This one saw into the dark side of the Greek world. This one beheld a society built upon slavery, where human worth was measured by class and social position, a callous culture that treated its statues with more reverence than its people, the shallowness that worshiped the body's beauty before the qualities of the soul, the brutality and cruelty beneath the veneer of sophistication. There was one who knew that Jews would one day return to search for the light of Torah and its wisdom. And so this person hid a tiny relic of purity and sanctity, a little jar of oil to rekindle the light of Jewish faith. The one who hid the oil is my Hanukkah hero. This one is my spiritual ancestor. Because of that vision and faith, there are tiny bits of light, sparks of holiness, hidden all over the world, buried beneath the walls of callousness and the altars of superficiality. There are traces of purity and wisdom waiting for us when we finally tire of the emptiness and futility of the predominant culture. To believe in the return of light when all the world is plunged into darkness is the lesson of the Hanukkah holiday and the entire season over which it casts its glow. To make possible the rekindling of hope, of wisdom, of holiness, when all around the world there is darkness, is the true battle of Hanukkah.
Elohim this the time? Thank you. She is in charge, after all, right? Okay. Hey, I'm Russ Manthey. Happy holidays to everybody. It is the holidays. How many of you are going to have guests, visitors, at some time this season? Okay, how many are going to have overnight guests? Oh, boy. Is there any work involved in getting ready for that? I mean, is there anything special you have to do? You know, you think about it, especially overnights. My son comes with one of his kids. My son needs body wash. He doesn't use soap. And there's something about his son, he only eats bacon. So, you know, so we get used to this and we do it. So we do it, and it's a lot of work. Why do we do it? What? Love? They're our family. And, you know, maybe someday when we're too old to lift the turkey out of the oven, they'll do it for us, maybe, right? Hopefully. Okay, well, you know what? Your PADS task force here at DUC, plus a whole bunch of volunteers, does this 11 months a year for anywhere from 25 to 50 people. We don't have the facilities to do it here, so we do it at the First Congregational Church in Naperville, and we do it at St. John's Catholic Church in Winfield, 11 times a year. Now, we don't have a nice crackling fire. We don't have seasonal music. We don't have 2 kinds of red wine and white wine and no Fannie Maes. But what we provide is the basics. People come in, they get a nice hot meal for dinner, they get a safe, not very comfortable, but warm place to spend the night, they get breakfast, and they get a lunch to take away. Now, why do we do it? Well, that's very interesting. We'll get to that in just a second. But I want to tell you, in order to do it, we need 3 basic things. Number 1, we need volunteers. We need a lot of volunteers. It takes 55 people to do this each time. We did it at Thanksgiving. We're doing it again at Christmas because it's the 4th Wednesday and Thursday of every month. Now, what I'd like to know is if anybody in this congregation here today has ever volunteered at PADS in any way, brought food, bought something, went shopping, spent the night as a monitor, served breakfast, lunch, made dinner, would you please stand? If you've ever done anything. Oh, let's give them a round of applause. You're already standing. Now, those of you who didn't stand because you haven't been able to go or don't know much about it, I would invite you to ask anybody who's ever done something for PADS, why do you do it? And I think you'd be surprised at the reasons. I can tell you I started volunteering for PADS in 2011 when I was a visitor. And I was so enthralled by the idea that this church actually did that, so I went a few times and I said, wow, this is love that goes outside of this structure, and we really do it. And I got to tell you, it's one of the reasons I joined this church. So we need volunteers. We have to have a bench strength of at least 100 people. Because if you need 55 each time, people get old, they get tired, they have to go somewhere. Please, if you haven't volunteered, it comes out every month in the newsletter. Join up. You don't have to know what to do. The task force will show you what to do. We really need volunteers in all positions all the time. The second thing we need is we need stuff, okay? People come to your house. My son needs body wash. These people need panties for little girls. We have children, size 8 here. Double extra large underwear. I can identify with this. Okay. Toothpaste and toothbrush, travel size stuff. We're talking basic stuff, folks. Now, thankfully, the do-gooders put together the holiday tree every year out there. You take a little tag off, you go and you get the stuff, you don't wrap it, and you put it underneath the tree. Now you say, oh, there's no tags, what should I do? Use your imagination, okay? You've had guests, what do people need? How many of those little hotel shampoo bottles are you saving for those trips you made around the world? We use them, bring them in, come on, we need all that stuff. People need this. Now, the third thing we need, not surprisingly, is cash. Now, you see, Costco and Jewel and Myers, they're all very nice, and I'm sure they have kind hearts, but they don't donate anything. We have to make a whole bunch of food. Now, a lot of the people who cook the food to bring for dinner, they do donate that. We don't reimburse them. But if they need us to, we do. All the food we use for breakfast and lunch, we have to pay for. cash. So what I'd like to do is prime the pump a little bit here and kind of give you an idea of what we're looking for. Okay, 10s are good, okay? We like 5s. 5s are good. Singles are fine. But there's got to be something better than that in here. Oh, yeah. 20s are really good. Okay, so the ushers are going to come up and take the bowls. Please give generously. Remember, this is a holiday, whatever your take on Christianity, and I'm not saying anybody or everybody's a believer, but the legend endures because an immigrant family came to a hostile country where the king wanted the head of the baby. And it was only through the love of strangers, and some say divine intervention, that that family survived. Maybe we're the strangers in divine intervention for the people who come to PADS every month. Thank you. Please give generously.
Will I have time to walk a bit alone along a winding desert road? Or shall I, bent beneath my Christmas load, never think of it? Will I have time to turn towards a star, silently watching from afar, sending me with no price tag its rays of hope unendingly? Will I find a moment in the first faint flush of dawn to kneel outside a stable door and find myself reborn?
Christmas today can be largely characterized by two images: the lullabyified Jesus and the consumer holiday. Many of the carols we hear and the displays we see, whether on cards, manger scenes, or in store windows, contribute to the lullabyified sense. Soft, romantic scenes connoting that all is bright, all is white. White, as in beautifully, peacefully, snow-covered, but also in the strangely white faces of the Palestinian Holy Family and Child. And Christmas today is also characterized by the commercial holiday. Giving gifts at Christmas time originates in the story of a 4th century Bishop Nicholas, from which the holiday is named, resident of the city of Myra in what is modern-day Turkey, who became known for his generosity to a very poor family in his town. However, in today's world, we are called to make Christmas an orgy of consumption. Pull out those credit cards, rack up the bills today, and don't worry about paying them until later. After all, what makes the world go round is money, right? But if we step back for a moment, we see that the story of Christmas is embedded in something more ancient than the story of the birth of Jesus. The writer of Matthew's Gospel stated that the true meaning of Christmas was truly found in the words of the Jewish prophet Isaiah. Isaiah spoke to the people of Judah at a time when they faced the threat of war and defeat, when they feared for their lives and safety. The message of Isaiah to the people was, "This is not a time for fear or despair, but a time for defiance and hope." The child, a simple child, is the sign, the tangible symbol of the fact that you are not alone. This child is the promise that through faith and by standing in resistance, a radically new future is possible. That seems to be the true message of the baby in the manger. Not a sweet lullaby-fied Jesus, and certainly not a call to material gluttony. Rather, the brown-faced baby Jesus, born as an outcast in a dank, smelly manger, surrounded by barn animals and shepherds, the lowest of non-persons in his society. This Jesus who would, days after his birth, become a refugee in Egypt and would later be falsely accused and murdered by the Roman state. This Jesus is not the sweet baby lying gently on glistening strands of golden hay. In this world where immigrants are demonized and funds to assist the sick, the poor, the homeless, and the disenfranchised have been cut, the baby in a manger is an announcement of hope and at the same time a call. We are called to be a people who, instead of giving in to fear and backing down, take a stand. The baby calls us to be a people who resist evil and injustice and who engage in the struggle for a world of true freedom and justice, a world with the promise of a radically new future.
That reading was actually written by a friend of my brother's who did work with his parents as a missionary in Brazil, and he saw a lot of hardship there, and it really turned him around. We'd like to ask you to join us in singing parts of this next piece. The choir lyrics and your lyrics will be projected on the wall. Just to warn you, at one point, the lyrics switch in the middle of a verse. So you'll notice you're all singing along merrily, and then suddenly we're just singing on our own. So just want to bring that to your attention. Before we sing this version of the First Noel, I'd like to write what Jonathan Miller, the arranger and lyricist of the additional words, wrote about this. He says, "This new setting of a beloved carol was written for the Sounds Good choirs that I helped to lead in the Chicago area.